Yeah, some good news. Now, last year at this time, we can tell you that many restaurants and stores saw very little business and that unemployment was sky high. But now numbers are dramatically different. Still, some business owners tell me, you know what, things are far from normal. Tony Chu is busy making lattes and mochas for customers this summer. He's the owner of Caffeinated near Seattle Center. Last December, he was on the verge of shutting down for good. Now, he says business is much better. It's not great. He's still struggling to make rent. Check out these new numbers from Washington Department of Commerce. Statewide, retail sales are up by 58%. Business income is up by 76%. A closer look at the employment picture. Year over year, employment is up 11% in King County.
At this point, a lot of people have returned to work.
Annalise Sherman is regional economist with the Employment Security Department.
Well, this is looking at the labor force, the size of the labor force in Washington state. And we have had a lot of people returning to employment.
As for people out of work,
we've seen a substantial decrease in the number of unemployed as this recovery has taken hold.
During the peak of the pandemic last April, unemployment in Washington state was 16.3%. Now, unemployment for Washington state is 5.1%. The level of unemployment is the lowest it's ever been during the pandemic.
We are seeing employment returning. We are seeing most sectors building back. When we're looking at the number of people on unemployment, that's down to close to pre-recession levels. The unemployment rate is down to normal levels. And as a whole, people are returning back to work.
But she says we're not out of the woods yet.
It is affecting people very differently depending on what industry they're in, what their health situation, what their child care situation.
Hey, Mary, that indoor mask mandate, as we know, applies to everyone, even if you are vaccinated. And one server tonight tells us she will once again have to police that policy. And as early as Monday, it's Pfizer that could get full approval, with doctors hoping it will convince more people to roll up their sleeve. At Belltown's Wakefield Bar, the weekend is underway, and on the other side of it, another round of indoor masking. It's giving Lainey DeTulio flashbacks.
It was pretty aggravating because everyone pretended not to know the rules, even though I think most people did.
Now, with more tourists stopping by, she says many are not vaccinated and are not masking up. It's going to leave her to push that renewed mandate.
But we got to do what we got to do in order to get this under control.
And with vaccinations stalling out in some parts of the state, like Stevens County, where just 29% have started the process, and closer to home in Pierce County, 50%, there's optimism that the FDA will grant Pfizer's vaccine full approval as early as Monday.
That thoroughness is really important if, in fact, we hope to see an uptick in vaccination.
Dr. Joshua Liao says it could also lead to more public and private vaccine mandates. Along with talks of a booster shot gaining traction, Dr. Liao notes the green light would make a big impact there as well.
In the coming months, there will be many Americans that have an option to get that third shot. They'll be reassessing that decision. And that's a different decision.
Well, new this morning and only on KOMO, hear from grief-stricken parents of a UW football alum now sounding the alarm for everyone who can to get vaccinated. KOMO's East Whitaker shares their story of unknowns following the sudden and devastating loss of their son.
Lamar Mitchell loved sports from an early age.
He had about 35 different scholarship offers to a university for his football.
And he chose the University of Washington of all the offers he had?
Well, no.
Okay.
He chose University UCLA, and we chose University of Washington.
Huskies have it! A wise choice for this wide receiver, a member of the UW's 91 Rose Bowl championship team. Staying strong and healthy into his 50s, his sudden death is a shock.
It's difficult, Denise. Yeah. It's really difficult.
Mitchell, a nurse in mental health, working long hours, even some double shifts, still drove an hour to see his mom for her birthday.
And as we progressed through the day, he told me he didn't feel very well, but he had to go back to work that night.
When Sandra Howell called the next day to check in on him, her son said he was monitoring his pulse and oxygen levels.
That's the first thing we come to our mind nowadays. Is, are you infected?
Sandra and her husband, Walt, immediately drove 65 miles to see him.
And that was the last time we got a chance to see him.
Mitchell tested positive for COVID-19 July 30th, admitted to the hospital August 2nd. 1 week later, doctors put him on a ventilator. The next day, in kidney failure, they started dialysis. The next morning, he passed while Walt and Sandra sat in traffic, desperate to get there in time.
When you lose a child, it is so devastating.
Right, Molly, this is a county really that compared to King County has a very low vaccination rate. But at this point, Pierce County says it is not going to be following the governor's suit here, despite the pleadings from health leaders.
With the dramatic increase in serious COVID-19 cases, primarily affecting unvaccinated individuals, it's critical that we vaccinate as many people as possible, as quickly as possible.
But there is a wide disparity in vaccination rates, especially in the 3 of the most populated counties in the state. The percent of the total population of those fully vaccinated statewide is 53%. King County is near the top at 64%. Snohomish near the state average at 54%, and Pierce County way behind at 44%. But Pierce County won't be following King County's lead. Pierce County Executive Dameyer supports incentives, but not mandating the COVID-19 vaccine for county employees. He authorized a new benefit to encourage county employees to become vaccinated, which is 4 hours of vacation leave. Neither is the largest city. The city of Tacoma is evaluating the latest recommendations from the CDC, the State Department of Health, and the Tacoma-Pierce County Health Department to determine how those recommendations will apply to city employees and members of the public when in city-owned facilities. To the north, Everett says, not at this time. Mayor Franklin, however, sincerely hopes that all city employees and residents will make their responsible decision and get vaccinated. And Snohomish County, no plans to mandate vaccines at this time. But counties are waiting and watching.
So we've certainly had conversations, but we are also very cognizant about the impact into the labor negotiations and how those might have to happen. But definitely there are folks that are discussing it and certainly observing and watching to see how existing labor unions within the state and King County potentially respond to this and learn from that.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for checking out our YouTube page. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell from the KOMO weather team. You can see more of our videos right here by clicking on the video links for additional news from the Seattle area and Western Washington. Oh, and don't forget to click the subscribe button below so you don't ever miss our YouTube updates.